On today's show, this could be a wild summer for NBA trades, according to some executives across the league. Will the Mavericks be left behind with all the player movement happening? We'll talk about that and more today's Locked On Mavs. All right, I got Mark Tatum back up.
I mean, if we get top two, that's insane.
Fourth pick is the Charlotte Hornets.
The Charlotte Hornets.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Stop it. Stop. The number one pick will go to the Dallas Mavericks. Cooper Flag will fly in Dallas.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great,
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave.
Your team every day.
I'm gonna get a city like that.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstead, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer. Making Locked On Mavs your first listen. Joining me, as always, my co-host, media member covering the Mavs for 10 years, right alongside me, the off-season oligarch, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
All right, so I love to read. I like to read stuff that's not sports and not church stuff too. And a few weeks
Did
ago,
you get those book it buttons from Pizza Hut and you got that little personal pan pizza? Did you ever do that when you were a kid?
no, I didn't. But I
You didn't do book it? Oh.
No, I had to do this stupid AR points in school. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Anyway, I just finished Cormac McCarthy. It's a classic, The Road, and it made me cry. So people out there,
Wow.
You're listening, you've read The Road. Yeah, I feel like it's a pretty popular book, but let me know in the comments if you've read The Road and let me know if you actually cried. It's all right. You can admit it because I did.
The last thing that made me cry was a Shams tweet. I won't tell you which one it was, but
Was it about Alex Condon going back to school and his agents told him?
it was not about that.
All right.
Today's episode, we're going to get into the offseason for the NBA. Could be wild. We're hearing lots of rumors that it's going to be a crazy offseason because teams have to make trades. And the only way to trade is to trade big player contracts. And that's the only way to get them to move. So we're going to go through a bunch of different stars. We're going to play a game of like, what about this guy? What about this guy? What about this guy? We're going to go through and basically guess where these guys are going to end up at the end of the summer. And let's start here. According to Mark Stein's The Stein Line, Jake Fisher has a report out there, and this is where a lot of the talk is coming from. Quote, it's going to be a crazy summer, one Western Conference executive projects. There's going to be a lot of movement. Another one said trades are going to be the marquee aspect because there's a number of high-level players available, and there aren't really many marquee free agents, adds another team's cap strategy, salary cap strategist. You just kind of look at the writing on the wall with what the NBA is right now and how the NBA has changed because the collective bargaining agreement, the CBA that we've heard a lot about, first apron, second apron, salary cap, all that kind of stuff. The way that salaries have been maneuvered. So now you have players that are making 50 million and then the next tier of players are making like 15, 19 million. You're like, the gap between them has never been bigger. And the only way to move some of these big contracts is to move another big contract. It's hard. Some teams can't even compile a couple contracts. If you're in the second apron, the Suns, the Celtics, you can't send multiple players out in a trade. It has to be one big contract for one big contract if that's what you're trying to do. And so the only way to really make a lot of movement is for trades. Also, you're not going to have a lot of teams with a lot of cap space. I don't think the Nets are doing a Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant summer again, right? And they're probably one of the only few teams with cap right now. And so, Isaac, we're looking at this group of names and we're like, all right, where are these players moving? Because people are saying a lot of movement's going to happen, and it has to happen with these big stars if that's the case.
Well, it's kind of funny too, because once the second apron guy thrown out there, it felt like the overwhelming majority was like, dude, this is going to suck for player movement, man. Like, we love trades and we're not going to get trade bombs anymore. And now, I mean, if the summer plays that, we've already had crazy amount of trades, right? And crazy big names that have gotten traded. But it looks like we're headed towards summer to where we're going to have a lot of other bigger names heading other places. And so it kind of debunks that some. And you got like all these teams in different categories, right? Like you get teams that want to avoid the second apron so bad that they're willing to dump a contract to a bad team that will make the bad team a little bit better. And hopefully, I think this is what the league was going for. It adds some more parity to the league. And we're about to see probably like Indiana and Oklahoma City in the NBA finals. And, obviously Oklahoma City's a unique case in that because they suck for so long, but still it's just, it's interesting.
And they suck for like 2 years. It's
Well,
kind of wild. It's kind of wild how quick
yeah.
that was. If you really look at like,
And when you look at the big names this summer, it's like there's a ton of names that you could talk yourself into, or you're like, yeah, would you be shocked if that player got moved, like a Trey Young or a Ja Morant or Jalen Brown, or like, and we're like, I wouldn't be like floored if one of those guys got traded, because you kind of get where their franchise is at and all of that. So
and you
I just thought we could have some fun with it and just throw out a name, and we could like have a prediction and be like, all right, this is what I think is going to happen with that guy.
and you think about the players that we've seen move in the last not even calendar year. The Karl Anthony Towns Julius Randle trade was a massive deal that happened right before the season started. That one was a huge trade between two all-star level players. You had Brandon Ingram that moved. You had Jimmy Butler that moved. Obviously, the trade that rocked all of our worlds happened.
Maxey.
That was Maxey and Markieff Morris and Max Christie. Like that deal was absolutely massive, and it was just purely because of the two teams involved wanted to do that deal. But you think about De'Aaron Fox is another name that moved. There's we've had a lot of player movement actually. If you start to look through,
I forget that he got traded, by the way, half the time.
I know he's just like out there, and the Mavs played him twice at the end of the season, and we still forget that he was out there. But there's been a lot of movement recently, and so yeah, I'm concerned that the Mavs may be left behind in some of this, because the West may only get stronger, the East may only get weaker with some of these trades. And I want to start with our first name, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo. If Giannis goes to the Spurs, which is like my first instinct, because they got the stuff to trade for him that you think maybe the Bucks would want. If Giannis goes to the Spurs, how insane does the West become? And then all of a sudden, you've got the Thunder up top, Rockets who are young and maybe getting better, the Lakers with an offseason under their belts, the Nuggets, we just saw what they could do to the Thunder. Clippers were really good this season and got better as the year went on. The Timberwolves are getting destroyed by the Thunder right now, but they're still going to be good and going to be back up there next year. The Warriors with a year under their belt with Jimmy Butler are probably better than what they were this year. The Grizzlies, maybe their injury luck. The Kings will probably drop down. And then now the Spurs are rising up. It's like, man, if that happens, if he goes to the Spurs, or maybe I can't think of another destination in the West he would go. But that would be absolutely insane.
Utah.
And that's my guess, is that he would go to the Spurs.
You think he goes to the Spurs?
That would be my big guess, that they make
I feel like that is
huge, massive move and create like the greatest front court of all time.
that would be stupid. Stupid as like a fan of another team. You're like, please don't do this. I actually think so. I think wherever they trade him, I think he's going to play a part in it. I think they're going to do some honoring to him and saying like, if they do part ways, I think he's going to have a role in that. I also think it's hard to figure out what he like values right now. Is it his time to just go to a big market or go somewhere where he wants, and it's not fully about the rings and stuff? That's like, hey, I don't care if I have to go somewhere like a Brooklyn that we've seen rumored so many times, and like, oh, that doesn't make sense. You don't have any other names around you. But he's like, I kind of prefer being in New York now, and then I'll give him a few years to like build some stuff around me. This is why, and this pains me to say this, I think my biggest prediction for the offseason, that Giannis and Dame head to Miami
Together
for a package around Bam, their picks, and then all of their like expiring contracts, and it's a reset from Milwaukee.
That would be insane.
Yeah, so for the Heat's sake, you're having to absorb Damian Lillard in that. And so like you get like no year of Lillard next year. And for Milwaukee, it's like, all right, if we're going to give up Giannis, then we want a really good young player in return. You're getting that in Bam, who's 27. You're getting multiple draft picks and swaps from Miami, which they can do. And looking at some of that, there's a couple young players in there, like a Khalil Ware or a Jaquez or somebody like that you could throw in there. But it's more about the expiring contracts of like Rozier, Duncan Robinson, to where then Milwaukee can look at it and say, let's reset this whole thing around Bam. We can clear up our whole cap space. Yes, we can have this year here, but then we can go out and Bam's still 27 and we can build around him. Giannis goes to Miami. I think there's a way they could keep Tyler Hero in that. And it's more of Giannis is saying, hey, I'm going to spend the rest of my career in Miami, and I trust that they're going to build a championship roster around me. Might not be this first year in Miami, but I'll give them that second year in which they'll build a title team around me.
That would be so wild. I'm starting to go through it to try to figure out how they would make this happen.
Oh, I did the trade earlier today.
Well, what was it?
It was like Bam, Rozier, Duncan Robinson, Wiggins, and then that gets you around there because it's just it's like $108 or $110 million swap between those two teams.
Just tough that if you don't get the young guys in this deal.
Yeah. Is Bam and picks like worth you saying like, all right, we don't have to pay Dame the next 2 years, like $50 million each year?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think this would also Giannis, like, man, that is like that may be worse than the Lucas.
Yeah. Well, no. I think it's also that would like Giannis would have to say like, I really want to go to Miami. Like, do me right here type of thing. Anyway, I think the Spurs are the betting favorite, but I was just trying to be fun with it. And I actually do think that could happen. Dame obviously wanted to go to Miami before. They liked Damian Lillard before and tried to get him.
They were going to get him.
Obviously the injury and stuff, but that's my big prediction for the offseason. Both of them go to Miami.
That would be massive. And then I would be concerned the Mavs would be left behind because then there'd be.
At least they're in the East, though.
I guess he is staying in the East. It's a good point. But the East would be fascinating next year with Giannis, but doesn't have. That's probably a worse roster around him. Tyler Hero.
It's kind of like a gap year, but there's not a ton of like bad money on the roster after that when you consider all the money that would be heading out. And so you'd be shooting for that second Giannis year in Miami of, all right, Dame's back, Tyler Hero. What can we add around them?
Fascinating. Coming up, let's get into the rest of these names. What else are we expecting? Where's Kyrie going to go? Where's Durant going to go? That could change the offseason for the NBA. We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds you can use to get in on the action. There's never been a better time to get in on it. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Check it out on FanDuel. See what they have available. They have all kinds of NBA props, obviously. They're doing the NBA Finals right now. The winner, Thunder, minus 600. That's gone up recently. They've obviously taken off the Western Conference, but the Eastern Conference, if you think the Knicks still have a chance to come back, plus 480, feels like you should get better odds than that to win the series. Plus 480. I feel like that should be better. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Please gamble responsibly.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show and listening. Subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, CastBox, whatever podcast platform you use. Take us with you every day. And we put all of our shows out there, full shows out on audio, and those count too. Those count for sure. You don't have to just look at our faces on here. You can listen to us. We appreciate everybody that does that and listens to the podcast as well. I love the people that I meet and they're like, dude, I didn't know what you looked like for like 5 years listening to this show. And then I saw you either in person or saw a YouTube video or something. And we're like, oh, that's what I had no idea. That's hilarious to me.
No clue. All right. You're kin to Kyle Korver.
Kyle Korver's brother. Kevin Durant is my next name I want to bring up from the list that you gave me. Because I think he is probably on the move. Like even more so than Giannis. I think that Kevin Durant could move because they had that they had the talk with the Suns about moving him on the deadline. He didn't seem like he knew that they were going to try to move him. And then now you're like, all right, now it seems they're going to move in the offseason. They got to do something. They can't just run it back in Phoenix, right? Like I can't imagine that that's what they would decide to do. And so my hilarious option that I said it and I started laughing and you were like, what are you laughing about? And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you until we do this. What if he gets traded for the number 3 and Paul George package to the Sixers?
It would be really funny. It would be great though.
That would be incredible content.
KD with Embiid and Maxey in them. That'd be awesome.
Maxey, Jared McCain coming back, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid. You get off of the Paul George contract if you're the Sixers.
I think that's it, man. I think that's a win of a deal for Phoenix. Like,
yeah, because you get Ace Bailey or a VJ Edgecombe if you want to, depending on where you want to go with that pick. If I'm the Sixers, I'm not like super excited because I'm not betting on Embiid's health for the rest of his career, I don't think. No. But if you are just kind of waiting around, like, all right, let's just wait till that 1 year Joel Embiid is healthy, then having a Kevin Durant, it would be a really nice thing to have around. But
yeah, I like that. I mean, well, I wouldn't do it if I was Philly, but if I was Phoenix, I would not hang up that phone call.
That was the hilarious option I thought of. My real one is the Rockets.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he would be their adult in the room. Come in, you could get a bucket for us, add a little size to some of their smaller lineups, but still remain versatile. He could imagine him tutoring Jabari Smith Jr. I've always thought Jabari Smith had the mid-range jumper. He destroyed the Mavericks one game in the AAC, and I was just like, it was before they had drafted Amen. And I was like, man, I think Jabari there's a potential that he could be the best player of all these. If he gets that mid-range jumper going and all that, Şengün really hadn't taken his leap yet. But obviously Şengün has passed him up, and obviously Amen Thompson's better than both of them. So, but yeah, I think Kevin Durant and the Rockets would be fascinating to me.
Houston's got to get an alpha. They got to get an alpha at the end of games. That's their next move. I was about that before the playoffs and even more now. I'll do a little sneaky option for KD. I think he goes to Minnesota. And I think this is Minnesota's chance that they look at it and say, hey, we've been at the conference finals for 2 years in a row, and we didn't get to the finals. I think they look at Anthony Edwards and they're like, dude, he idolizes KD. Yeah. This is his favorite player. And I think it's as simple as Randall opting into his $30 million option, and it's like a Randall DiVincenzo, you have to throw a pick or something in there to Phoenix for KD. And then you're running a KD McDaniels Ant wing combination. Yeah.
That's pretty fun. The KD Jaden McDaniels is like the lankiest wing combo group you can get ever want. So many limbs and arms in there. That one's pretty fun. Kevin Durant only has the 1 year left. It takes a lot to get him, but he really only has 1 year left on that deal.
Well, it's $54 million for that 1 year. Randall at 31. Throw DiVincenzo in there. You have to throw somebody else in there too. But anyway, it keeps Phoenix like win now type of players and kind of go from there. But all right, KD, Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie stays in Dallas. Full stop. I can't imagine him going anywhere else. Like I can't even. Who was the leverage play this summer? Because we had Phoenix as the leverage play last summer, and it really didn't even make any sense. Not last summer, but the summer before. But like,
yeah, I think that's one of the things.
Leverage play.
Well, this like whole time, I think a lot, including myself, is like, dude, Kyrie can go into these negotiations and be like, what are you going to do? Not pay me? You just traded Luka. You've talked about building around me and AD. Now you get Cooper Flag. Like, are you just not going to give me all the money now? But to your point, who's the team out there that's like saying, hey, who's he going back to the Mavs with and saying, hey, this team is creating the cap space? Because it's hard to even like create this space now, right? There's only a few teams.
Yeah.
Obviously, there could be a team that's like, dude, work out a sign and trade now and all this stuff. But no, I'm with you. I don't even think they like entertain that stuff. I think it's mutual. I think both of them want to come back. I think Dallas is going to pay him a good chunk of money, even as much as like national people be like, well, who are they bidding against and pull that card again. I think I've been in this camp for months that I think it's a 3-year deal, 2+1 player option on the third year. And it's going to be 40 to 45 annual salary, I think. So yeah, I'm with you. He stays in Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's it. And I can't imagine another option for Kyrie Irving. And so you at least keep that. You at least keep the Kyrie AD combo, which we've just been banking on and kind of just assuming is going to happen this summer, along with everything else you're doing. And that is an incredible duo, one of the best in the NBA. And we really haven't seen it at all. And so coming up, let's get into some of these other names. Let's go rapid fire through the Jaylen Brown, Chris Paul, Austin Reeves, Evan Mobley, Domantas Sabonis,
Drew
Gafford,
Holiday.
a couple Mavs names. We'll get into that and more coming up.
It's great. It's great, dude. Dude, it's great. It's great. It's great, broski. Bro, name it. It's great. It's great. It's great, bro. It's great. It's great. It's great. This life's great, bro. I have no complaints. I don't.
All right, Isaac. We're talking about the offseason. It could get nuts. Could be great. Could be insane. But we're talking about the offseason, and we're talking about a bunch of names that could move this summer. We've gotten through 4. It's just classic Locked On Mavs fashion. Next one, Trae Young.
Oh, I think he goes to Brooklyn. I think this is, yeah, I think this is, I have a lot of other names on here that I think stays put. So it's not like every player. We're just picking a lot of these players that I think actually gets moved. I think Trae goes to Brooklyn. I think this is Brooklyn's swing at like, hey, let's bring a big name in here. I think Atlanta looks at their wing combo of Jalen Johnson, Risha Sher, Dyson Daniels. I almost called him Daniel Daniels. Dyson Daniels. I also almost called him his brother, Dash. But yeah, I think Brooklyn does it. It could be multiple first-round picks in this year's draft because Brooklyn has like 4 of them. But it's kind of like they're, all right, let's cash in some of our pieces and let's get Trae Young to run some things.
Dyson has a brother named Dash?
Yeah.
How did I not know that? That's an incredible name.
Yeah, he's like coming up through the
Dash Daniels. Dash Daniels is a great name.
Yeah, that's great. I know.
Dash Daniels is like, well, he was in like Star Command with Buzz Lightyear. Like Buzz Lightyear and Dash Daniels both going to be Space Rangers.
You can't be not cool.
Buzz Aldrin.
Your name is Dash
Buzz
Daniels.
Lightyear, Dash Daniels.
Like, man, that
Dash
kid just
Daniels
isn't
like
cool at all. What's his name? Dash
Daniels raced Speed Racer at one point. Like great name. Brooklyn would be fascinating. I think Brooklyn's got it. They got to do some kind of move. They've got 4 first-round picks. They got some extra picks to move around. They're not getting the star player in the draft this year. Maybe they'll be patient enough to try again. But
I think they go after Trae or Ja. I could see either one of them. That they push their chips in a little bit and say, all right, we're tired of just sucking forever. We got to go get at least one person.
Trae feels like the Milwaukee move to me.
Oh,
what could Milwaukee do to convince Atlanta to do Lillard for Trae Young? Like, do they even have? I don't even think they might not even have anything.
I thought you were gonna say Giannis.
No, that's
like Giannis for Trae and Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, interesting. Zion Williamson is the name that we haven't mentioned yet. He got moved in our Locked On mock draft, and the hosts have talked about it have talked about it on their show, and so we'll tell you, we'll spill it. He went to the Jazz for the 5th pick, and I think that's a wild scenario for Zion Williamson to go to the Jazz. The Jazz look at it and say, all right, what's the odds that this 5th pick turns into a star? Let's say it's like 10-15%, right? Because that's kind of what it is at the 5th pick. Are those odds better than the odds that Zion will be healthy enough for a season, right? Like, I don't like, it's probably not like, it's probably 50-50 for Zion being healthy, but it's maybe like a 10-15% chance that number 5 will be a star. And so I kind of like that for the Jazz taking that chance.
The only thing about that trade for Utah is you didn't get the A+ star this year. So you almost have to shoot for it again with AJ and right down the street at BYU next year. I mean, the 2026 class is loaded too, but you're going to have a guy right down the street that is pretty dang impressive. And
I mean, just because he's down the street doesn't mean you have to draft him or even like scout him, right? Like
sometimes you don't scout them at all if they're down the street. I actually think Zion stays in New Orleans with like,
yeah, me too.
New regime there running things, and I actually think it's a pretty dumb move because if I'm New Orleans, if I'm New Orleans, I'm cashing out this summer and saying, all right, I'm done with the experiment.
Yeah, I think that's why Jake
but I think
Locked On Pelicans is done. He's done with the experiment too. I think that's why he traded him in the draft. Yeah. In our mock draft, all of us become the GM of our team. Spoiler, we took Cooper Flag number 1. It was the easiest mock draft. We always make a trade. Every year we make a trade. This year we were like, what? We tried with somebody.
We
did reach out. We reached out to a couple hosts and didn't get any traction. We tried to get back into the draft. We tried all kinds of things. But yeah,
I do think we'll do a future show on. I do think Dallas there is a likely, or no, I would say likely, there is a chance that Dallas looks at a couple of those teams. They're at the bottom of the first round. Dallas has to like shed some money at some point.
They do.
And I think they're going to look at some of these teams at the end of the first round, like in Atlanta, who has an exception, like Brooklyn, who has multiple first round picks there with one of their bigger contracts or mid-tier contracts. And anyway, keep going.
Do you want to throw back to the first trade we ever made in the Locked On mock draft? We had literally just joined the network. We joined in May. This happens obviously in like June.
It's the Dennis Smith Jr. draft.
You ready for this one?
Yeah, ready.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was. Mavs trade Seth Curry, Dwight Powell, and the 9th pick to the Pistons, which I don't think it was Koo at the time. I can't remember who's those. No. Stanley Johnson, Marcus Morris, it's a pretty good one, and number 12. So we traded down a couple spots.
I know who we took.
And we drafted
Donovan Mitchell.
Donovan Mitchell. That would have been an incredible pick for us.
Yeah. I was all in on Donovan Mitchell. Yeah.
That was our first pick we ever made. Do you remember the next one we did?
No, I don't.
Okay. 2018. Mavs traded trade Wesley Matthews for Danilo Gallinari, and we got the 13th pick.
Oh, okay.
And we picked Miles Bridges.
Interesting.
That was Bridges circa 2018 on the Mavericks would have been something else.
Yeah, that was pre everything, I think.
A decision. We also drafted Mo Bamba with the 5th pick because Luka went number 1 because that's where he should have gone in that draft.
Because our hosts are smart. What about Chris Paul?
Yeah, rapid fire. Chris Paul. I'll go Mavs.
I'll go Lakers. I think he goes back with his family and says, "All right, JJ, I'll come to you on a minimum."
David Stern is just like, no, still don't want that to happen.
Finally,
gonna veto it from the grave. Drew Holiday.
Right. This one's a little out of left field for me. I say Detroit. I think this is their.
I like that.
This is their like, hey, let's pair him with Cade. Let's try to take that next step forward. They could create some cap, throw another. They could kind of renounce Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway, try to upgrade the Beasley spot, add another contract in there, and to where it's like, I don't know, like 10 or 12 million going back to Boston. Boston sheds like 15, 17 million in that deal. Detroit adds Drew with Cade, Nassar, and those guys.
I think this is my Michael Porter Jr. trade for the Nuggets.
Oh, that's interesting.
I haven't looked at the money. I'm
MPJ in Boston, hilarious.
They're both making 30 something, so I bet they could make it work. They are both second April teams, so but maybe that's impossible.
I need Simmons to be
Mavs
regular.
yelling at me through his headphones, but
regular. I need Bill Simmons with John Corrales regularly to talk about MPJ and KP front court.
that would be nuts. Jaylen Brown. Speaking of the Celtics.
I still have Boston. I think they make other trades.
Yeah, I can't imagine they move him. Our boy Daniel Gafford.
I put Chicago. I think Dallas works something out on the trade market with Chicago. Pick your guy. there's.
I hope it's Kobe White.
Kobe White, Lonzo, and Io. There's just different guys on that team. I could see them some iteration of that, and I think Gafford could fit great on that team too.
I'm going to predict he stays.
Okay.
I think we talk all this talk and then he ends up being on the roster and we see him at media day and he goes, you guys tried to trade me 111 times this summer. And I remember all of them.
It's like, how are they supposed to get a guard, Daniel?
Sorry, bud.
Big Dan.
Well, they could trade PJ still. Either of the Cavs guys, Mobley, Allen, or Darius Garland. Do they move?
I don't think there's a world they trade Mobley. It feels like Jared Allen's the odd man out, I guess. I don't know where. I don't know what to do with Cleveland. Because I think there's a world, too, they look at it and say, all right, cool. Indiana's going to be in the finals. Let's just run our thing back and hopefully don't get injured.
Does Jared Allen on the Lakers move you at all?
How?
Like, they didn't have a center, and now they would have a center. And
I mean, I think it's great for Luka. I mean, it might get them in the top 6, I guess.
They were top 3 this year.
Yeah, but
They
I
were
don't
really
think
good
it
at-
makes them like a title contender because they get Jared Allen.
Okay.
Yeah.
You put Domantas Sabonis on here. I can't imagine they'd move him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like what? I mean, what are they going to do? Bottom out?
What are they doing now?
I don't know what they're the 2018 Bulls.
They're just staring at and them and the Bulls are like Spider-Man meme. Like, hey, do you want to make the plan again? No, we are. You're the kings of the East. I put Sabonis going to the Warriors.
Whoa, I like that actually.
As like just an under the radar
the hub
type of thing. Maybe it's the Kuminga sign and trade destination type thing.
Kings do own their 2026 first round pick, so this could be a bottom out scenario for them.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of ran its course. I mean, even though they just got Levine, and Sabonis would be like a sneaky Warriors addition there, and it would be kind of funny to see Draymond and Sabonis together. But
you put Joel Embiid on this list. Is this a joke, or is this? They can't move him. There's no way. Who's going to take him?
I put Philly. He stays in Philly, but is there a 0% chance he goes to the Lakers?
Yes.
Okay.
Who do they trade him for?
I don't know.
You can't.
I am so
Luka, LeBron, and Embiid is nuts.
Here's my thing, but here's my thing with the Lakers. Something had to go down for them to axe that Mark Williams deal. And all of that was so fishy and shady and agreed upon, the players and everything. And even Mark Williams, like, why did I fail this?
He played after that happened, right?
Yeah. And so they just like magically, failed it. And I shot off a tweet then. I was like, no, the Lakers got wind from some agent or somebody that they're going to be able to get a better center this offseason or swing for a bigger target this offseason. And I don't know. I don't know what Embiid's value is, but is there a weird combo in there of like Embiid and the Lakers? And I don't know.
Interesting. We'll be back tomorrow.
What about Austin Reeves? One more thing. Where do you think he goes?
Austin Reeves, I think he stays put. I don't think they're going to trade him.
Utah?
I don't think
for Kessler Edwards? I think Austin Reeves goes to Brooklyn for a package around Nick Claxton.
A Trae Young, Austin Reeves backcourt is something.
Okay, well, whatever. I forgot about that.
If you're doing both of your predictions on there. We'll be back tomorrow. People are upset that I keep saying we'll say stuff. I just say tomorrow we'll talk about stuff.
What do they want us to say?
So tomorrow we'll talk about Cooper Flag. How about that?
Yeah, we haven't talked about him in like 72 hours.
We'll talk about Cooper Flag tomorrow, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.